Now, having said all that, Happy New Year and Happy 2024 to everybody out there. If you haven't been around to see us just yet, thank you for stopping by. King Z and I are going to give you our hype list for 2024 because surprisingly, there are actually looking at this list, there's a good number of things that are coming out like we were talking offline. We were initially kind of bumming at the end of 23. We're like, oh man, the strikes, content drought. What are we going to do? What are we going to watch? Are we going to go retro on the channel and watch like a bunch of 80s and 90s stuff? We're still going to have a bunch of that in 24. But after looking through the release schedule for TV, you covered some series stuff that we had gone over. There's a couple of books that you're going to mention that are part of ongoing series from big name authors that you dig. We're going to talk about all of that, but we're just going to rip through a bunch of these real quick because surprisingly, there's enough good stuff coming out calendar year 2024. The first one I have on my list, I want to get this one right out of the way. Dune 2, because it's right around the corner in March, right? March 1st, I think?
Yeah, that's right. Dune Part 2 comes out on March 1st. It's coming with the exact same cast. I believe they filmed it like they did Lord of the Rings, where they filmed both parts and just separate releases. I really enjoyed the first one, the first iteration, part 1 of this. As someone who's a fan of the movies from the 1980s, the TV series in the 1990s, I'm really looking forward to part 2 because I believe that they are really onto something with this one. I'm looking forward to see how they do the sandworms writing, how they do his voice attack. So if you guys don't know the Dune story by now, there's enough movies out there you can get an idea, even though they're so inaccurate from the books, and this one's been pretty spot on. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to watching part 1 because I mentioned earlier that I still haven't seen it. I know it has its fans. I think the base is just not large enough to make it one of those true commercial, successful, just like takeovers at the box office because it is kind of long. It's a slower paced burn that has interesting characters and interesting story. But because it's not pew pews and laser swords every 5 seconds, this isn't going to become like the next Star Wars thing that like just completely enraptures a larger group of people. But the cast is great, like you said. There's interesting locations, interesting concepts. I'm down to watch it. I just didn't get around to it when part 1 came out, and now I'm up against it for part 2.
Yeah, and part 2 is going to be the war. They should have named it Dune Part 2 War for Arrakis, because that's pretty much what
it did. And I think that'd be a clever application of that 2-part title instead of just having it called Dune 2. Because anybody that didn't see part 1 that might be more casual, like myself, a normie fan of sci-fi in general, like, oh, okay, well, I didn't see the first one. It's 87 hours long and it's got a typical loud ass boring soundtrack, and there were a couple of like bizarre complaints of like the sound design and things like that I remember. But yeah, so we're looking forward to that on March 1st. Let me give you another big one because you had a couple of cool things to say about this earlier as the resident expert on Marvel. Deadpool 3, the only Marvel movie coming. I mean, there's other Marvel character movies. This is the only MCU movie that I think is due out this year. Everything else has been bumped. The Captain America thing, bumped. All the other stuff they had, like Think Thunderbolts, you were right, is bumped to next year. And they have nothing else. The Kang Dynasty stuff, that's a wash right now because of the Jonathan Majors situation. They let him go. They got to figure recast, reshoot, maybe bring in Doctor Doom, all kinds of silliness everywhere. But Deadpool 3 is their baby.
Bring in Terrence Howard as the new Kang.
Which I think would be hilarious.
How funny would that be?
Dude, just they could do whatever they want. They already established this guy's a multiversal character. They could bring you in. Like, no.
He's a variant.
Variant. You did this to yourselves. But Deadpool 3, what is the possibility this movie hits $1 billion on the backs of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman? Can it hit $1 billion?
I definitely believe it can because, one, Deadpool has such a huge following of Marvel fans because of the character itself. It was the first self-aware comic character out there. He broke the third wall in the comic book. Like, before they broke the third wall in the movie, he was breaking the third wall. Fourth wall. Oh, sorry.
I got you, dude.
He broke the fourth wall in the comic book before he was doing it in the movie, or the 74 walls that he broke where he was talking to himself, in part 1.
They do some wild stuff in print.
70 walls.
They do some wild stuff in print with it. Wild. But
so I definitely believe it. I hope that it's not toned down because of Disney owning it now, because it's part of the MCU. They need to let Ryan Reynolds be Ryan Reynolds. And the problem that we had while they were filming it is that there was a writer strike going on. and Ryan Reynolds couldn't ad-lib like he normally does because that would be considered writing and be considered crossing the picket line, not supporting the WGA writing strike. So we'll see how it turns out. I believe him and Hugh Jackman, like how much they rib each other, and like throughout the first two movies, you see how much he plays with Wolverine.
He has
because they kind of have the same power. Yeah. And it's also, we get to see Wolverine in the yellow suit for the first time ever. Like, how many X-Men movies have they've made?
11.
Like 7? And we haven't seen him yet in his yellow suit, including the Wolverine. Like, they hinted at it. Like, they opened the briefcase and you saw it. But he was never in it. So, we finally get to see Wolverine as Wolverine.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for this. I think the MCU is just due for a success. And I would like for them to have at least one. And it made, it got me thinking about the weirdness that is Deadpool with the fourth wall and some of their storylines. And we were saying earlier before when we were talking about this show, what are the odds that they pull that angle? Dumbed down for Disney, de-violenced for Disney. We're like, could Deadpool get a MacGuffin? Could he get a super Infinity Gauntlet and snap Phase 4 and 5 out of existence and just like have them wake up like the day after Tony Stark's funeral and Endgame and just completely go in a clean direction? Please.
Well, he already did that. He did that at the end of Deadpool 2, where he went back in time, and like there was a scene where it's Ryan Reynolds and he gets the strip for Green Lantern. He's like, finally, this is going to change everything. And he shoots him in the back of the head. And he's like, you'll thank me later. And then he goes back and he kills the other Deadpool from the Wolverine movie. He's like, I'm just trying to write the timelines here.
So they've got a precedent here. But I mean, that was when they were doing funnier stuff with, before it was Disney. They might take it personal if they try to erase, Phase 4 and Phase 5 as awful as they've been. But I'd still like to see it. What do you have on?
It's personal because they made us watch it.
I feel like they owe us money. All right, what's on your list? What are you most hyped for? Give me a couple of things from your list and we'll run right through these.
All right, we're going to stick around this whole superhero thing that we've been talking about. But we're going away from the MCU. We're going with, I believe, going to be the hottest ticket out there. And that's the Sony pictures that are coming out, the Sony Spider-Verse. Well, we're going to see in February 14th, we're going to see Madam Web come out. Now, if you don't know who Madam Web is, she is a Spiderling like all the Peter Parkers and like Spider-Man 2099. But she can see all webs of possibilities. So that's why she's called Madam Web. It's going to have Dakota Johnson, formerly Dakota Fanning, starring in it as the Madam Web character. And we get to see a young Spider-Man 2099 in this. Like, he's in his suit. Okay. So it looks like it could be pretty good. It has a couple young actresses with Sydney Sweeney and Isabella Marcid.
I don't know her. I know Sydney Sweeney. Gorgeous.
Yep. And it's directed by S.J. Clarkson, who did The Defenders and Jessica Jones. So she has an idea of how to do some of these superhero-type movies of B characters.
All right. Yeah.
And then Sony's going to come right back in August with Kraven the Hunter. This one, again, a Spider-Man villain, like the Venom movie. They're bringing it in, and it's starring Kick-Ass. So he's put on some weight, he's been in the gym.
Yeah, he hit them weights for sure, dude. He's huge.
He went from running fast as Quicksilver, and he ran right into the gym and just lived in there for like 5 years. And like,
yeah, dude, he's hyper shredded.
To pull off this character.
That one picture of him just sitting in the chair, like cut up. The kid got jacked for the role.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't have any concerns with the Sonyverse doing the whole like villain being made the star and maybe being like made the sympathetic anti-hero thing? Like, Kraven's a bad dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man.
So what I believe that they're trying to do is by giving these backstories of these bad guys like Venom, like Morbius, like Kraven. God. I don't think that because you could go and have a Dr. Ock movie after that, then do one with the Green Goblin, and then bring back your Spider-Mans and have the Sinister Six movie that they've been trying to build for 2 movies with the Amazing Spider-Man.
They really were banking on that.
I think they could possibly pull it off.
Wanted that bad. They wanted that bad.
And the thing was, like, the Kraven character himself wasn't actually bad. He was just the world's greatest hunter. He took down the beast that no one else could bring down. And then they were told that he was a menace.
Yeah, that's true.
So he came to get the man spider.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
But he did become part of the Sinister Six. So
some bad guy tendencies in there. So let me pile Venom 3 onto you real quick, because that's another one. That's another, what do we call them? This is the Sonyverse, I guess, or Sony Pictures verse, whatever.
The Sony Spider-Verse.
Right. So Venom 3 again. I like the first one. I saw most of Let There Be Carnage. I liked Woody Harrelson a little bit in the role, but it wasn't really Carnage as I know him from the, given the restrictions of movie ratings and things. Like Carnage is evil. You know what I mean? I didn't think that.
Like pure
that's what
evil.
I'm saying. Like magnitudes beyond Venom as I remember him as a kid growing up. So the movie didn't hit perfectly for me. I think it was a moderate to low success. Venom 3, I don't know anything about the story. I know Tom Hardy's in it as Venom. That's about it. I don't know so much.
That's about all I know,
how
too.
motivated are you on a 10 scale to hunt that down as a movie? I don't know.
Well, I actually enjoyed the Venom. I love Venom as a character. And I love like the actual Venom and the interaction between Tom Hardy's of Brock
and the suit and the symbiote.
Venom. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great. It plays out great, especially in the first movie when they're first learning to work together.
Don't eat him.
What do you mean? Don't eat him?
Yeah, like that kind of thing. Yeah, it was alright. It was like Gollum on drugs, kind of is how I remember. Like Gollum on like the psychotics or something like that. For sure.
So being a big Venom fan and knowing how much Venom is a thorn in Spider-Man's side, and then watching them two team up, which I thought this was kind of leaning to as well when they first released the first Venom movie, because it was the move to San Francisco did actually happen in the books after Brock was fired from the Daily Bugle. He went to San Francisco to restart his career, but he was already Venom at that point, and then he resyncs with Venom after Venom. They kind of split, and then he resyncs with Venom and goes to when he's in San Francisco.
At the end of the first Venom movie, the post-credit scene there was a drop. Wait, what movie had it where there was a droplet of the Venom symbiote left? Was that the Doctor Strange movie? Was it Doctor Strange? Somebody had a post-credit scene where he's drinking at a bar, and there's a speck of the symbiote like on the bar counter. I remember that. Was that Let There Be Carnage? Was that a post-credit for that?
That was No Way Home.
Oh, okay, right. So then teasing that Venom, as we know them from the Sony Spider-Verse movie series, could be an MCU proper.
Because
that's what that was.
You would have to go to the post-credit scenes of Venom 2, where there's they close their eyes and all of a sudden they're in like a new San Francisco.
That's right, because
they see Tom Hardy there on the street, and is like, and he lit the street, and he's like, we need to meet this guy.
Right.
And then it goes to the post-credit scene where they're back in the bar, and he leaves a little bit of the symbiote back when he gets pulled back into his own universe when Spider closes the multiverse of madness type thing.
Right, because the post-credit from Venom 1 was where they're at the Supermax prison and you realize they're meeting Cletus Cassidy, Carnage. That was the post-credit for Venom 1. Okay, glad we straightened that out. Give me something from your list.
All right, coming up, also, we're going to stick with Sony Pictures on this one. And we're talking about like the trailers dropped, looks interesting, sequel to a movie in 2019 that was highly anticipated. We're talking about Ghostbusters: The Frozen Empire, released on March 22nd this coming year. I am really, really looking forward to this because it blends the new genre with the old genre as they take on a brand new enemy. And I'm really looking forward to this.
What are you looking forward to most about this? Do you want to see more of the kids, or is it more the hype factor for having the OG team come back in a more not a takeover role, but I think they're going to be featured more prominently throughout the film and not necessarily in just that last closing scene where like they finally show up at the end of Afterlife, which I thought was a little underwhelming. Except for the Egon stuff, that was great.
Well, yeah, when they did the the last one, it was like you saw like the birth of the new generation of Ghostbusters. But if you have a new generation, you need mentors from the old generation. I believe they're going to be in that mentor role where they just still do the job, but they're also trying to teach them how to do the job.
Yeah, I hope that's the route this goes. I really do. I think that's what was missing, I think, mostly from Afterlife for me, is I wanted more of the OGs. It was nice to see them at the end, but it felt kind of tacked on. But to credit the movie, it was emotionally resonant, because when the girl's using the proton pack and, you know, Grandpa Egon is helping her aim and just kind of gives her the smile and the nod. If you don't feel that, you don't have a pulse. You know, that was nice. Dude, the family dynamics. If your movie has that shit, I'm in. I mean, it's just because it's good. People need that. Yeah, I'm hyped to see that too. I think that there's a lot of original ground they can cover. They have the Stranger Things B-team crew, because that's kind of what these kids are, the collection of them. It's got a Stranger Things kid in it, for Christ's sake, you know. So I mean, he's there. They could get into some shenanigans. I thought the main female character from Afterlife, I thought she was kind of charming in a quirky, awkward kind of way. They didn't really
Carrie Coon, right?
Whoever the girl, not the mom, the girl, like the sister. I don't remember the name. That type of character, when they lean into nerdy and quirky, if it's not pulled off authentically, it can get grating really quickly for me. But I thought she was fine. Like, I was like, oh, okay, she seems like an awkward tween or whatever they call it, like 12, 13-year-old, whatever how old she was supposed to be. Like, she wasn't supposed to be in 12th grade, but she wasn't a third grader. You know what I mean? She was 7th grade or something. Yeah. But that was fine. Her older brother, Mike, I call him Mike. That wasn't his name. That's his name on Stranger Things. He could drive Ecto-1. So I'm like, okay, if he can drive, she's got to be a few years younger. She's probably 13. She was still engaging enough of the lead. And like you were saying earlier when we were discussing the notes, who doesn't like Paul Rudd? The dude just works in anything.
Yep, Paul Rudd. And also you have Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Annie Potts from the original cast coming in. So the only downside I see to this is Mr. Pat Oswalt. I don't like him. I don't want him part of stuff. I wish he would not be in Hollywood anymore.
I find him insufferable as well. That's why it was so funny the day the trailer for the first trailer for this came out, and people were all on the hype, and then like minutes later, like the comment section and the retweets and the quote tweets and everything, just like, why is this dude in this movie? It was like a trending hashtag. Right underneath hashtag Afterlife was like hashtag Pat and Get Out and crap like that. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's because it is like I don't get the appeal. I don't find him funny. I just don't. And he's got some other things that we don't need to talk about. Dude, next on my list for you is going to be our first animated entry. Because this one I think is quietly going to be one of my favorite things of 2024. I'm talking about War of the Rohirrim. We're going to Middle Earth. We're going animated.
Yes, we are.
It's not an Amazon Prime thing because they don't own the license to the particular piece of source for this. So it's whoever, I think it's by the company that holds the rights to the games, I think, is who's in on this. I don't, dude, it's a mess. The rights for all these things are crazy. We're like the Books Prime are over here. The rights to the Silmarillion are over here. Amazon, whatever they have the rights to the appendices or something, and that's why you got the garbage that is Rings of Power, because it's just inspired by, but then they had all this empty space to fill in. You know what I mean? So, but War from the Rohirrim comes from a side of them that have the rights that I think are more closely aligned with the original spirit of Lord of the Rings. You know, with that world building there, they're not trying to fill in gaps and reinvent things for a modern audience, and including based on the basis of your skin color, while not completely incorporating those people that Tolkien had written in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to replace fair skin things with modern interpretation. I don't think this cartoon's going to do that. I don't know much about the story. If it's about the Rohirrim, I'm in. That was one of my favorite parts about the Fellowship of the Rings trilogy. I loved that in Towers, the Rohirrim. I loved everything that came out of Rohan. I loved King Theoden. I loved Carl Urban as Éomer. The cavalry charge at the end of Towers is probably as important to me as a movie scene as the run on the original Death Star. That's how much I love that scene. Like, it's right up there. So I'm hyped. And I'm ready for that.
And I think you can do so much with this story, it being animated as well.
Good point.
Now, I want to see the type of animation that they're using. Like you said, if it's the video game rights, they might be using something like Unreal Engine 5, which is a great tool for filmmakers to build a realistic environment and make animated characters look realistic. Sure. But you could also go old school to like the original Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Imagine if they did the old Rankin and Bass animation style, like from the 70s. That'd be wild, dude. I'd give them double ticket price for that because I want to see that. I think that'd be great. You know what I don't want? I don't want like the Pixar Shrek shiny plastic looking cars thing that I think a lot like that's animation present day. I don't want that. I want something flat, black outlines, not 600 trillion different colors, like not necessarily 80s, because I get that the time has passed for that. But I mean, is there not a happy medium somewhere in there? Like you said, maybe something like the Unreal 5 engine is something for animation.
I honestly think animation in general has gotten worse as they relied too much on. Like I did like the Pixar stuff in the first.
Oh yeah, it was novel, cool. And it was novel. You know what I mean? It was new. But I mean, compare Japan to here. Animation styles over there are still very, you know what I mean? They're flat pressed with like the crazy flashing light effects and all the traditional anime stuff. But it is still very like when I watch things like Attack on Titan, I'm watching a little bit of that now, you know, and One Piece and things like that. It's still very traditional, I guess, is the way to say the word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I was there and I was on Disney Plus and I was looking through old shows and I was looking for DuckTales and I put on this thing that said DuckTales. Oh. And I'm like, I don't remember the animation being this bad. And then I found the old DuckTales. I'm like, how did animation get worse?
Because you found DuckTales 2012 and not OG DuckTales that you watched before going to school, you know what I mean, in 91.
In the 90s. Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah, it definitely doesn't depend on the animation of this, of how good it could be, but you could do so much more than live action with animation.
And I think, you know, the other upside to animation, too, is if they play their cards right, they don't need to blow a $400 million budget on this. Like, that's the thing. Like, if this is a niche project, it shouldn't have, they need to get away from that. $250 million production budgets are a way to murder your opportunity at maintaining profitability and getting additional projects funded. Yeah. If this thing comes in as an animated flick for $100 million, money in the bank. Money in the bank.
Yep.
Guaranteed. What's next on your list?
Next on my list is a up-and-coming studio. I've been enjoying their stuff. They're not one of the big hitters out there, but when you see it come up, you know what type of movie you're getting. That's the A24 studio, and this is that new movie Civil War. The trailer was intriguing. I wouldn't say the best. I won't say the worst, but it was intriguing.
That's a fair word.
I want to see how it would play out. Also, Nick Offerman's the President of the United States, which who doesn't want Ron as the President of the United States?
True.
But I know he's trying to play it a little bit different with this one. And seeing him clean shaven was completely weird. But it looks like it could be really interesting. So I wanted to throw it on there as like something that we should watch. It's released on April 26, 2024.
I think that's intriguing is a good word for that. Like when we were talking about our list earlier, I want to see a movie like that because it could play with some interesting concepts politically. My fear is that depending on who makes it inside of A24, is we could get a parody of one political side or the other. And I'm so tired of divisive crap at this point. Like I don't want to see a movie where like all the left wingers are extremely left wingers and make no sense and they're frothing morons. I don't want to see a movie that has all right wingers as like, you know, automatic weapon carrying nutbags that have their one world, one theocracy vision for America. Like we could play with some subtle concepts between the sides here where both sides get some of it right, wrong, and there's compromise and level-headedness and an ability to speak truth and not have to worry about hurting feelings, either side. I mean, is A24, can they do that? If anybody can, it's probably them, you know?
Yeah, because they're not one of the big studios that rely on Hollywood money. They rely on audience. They rely on making money back at the box office. So I think they'll be able to tell a compelling story without being controlled by who's writing the check.
Cool. All right, what else you got? Give me another one.
All right, my next one is a comedy coming out. Now, we're going to be doing video later this month talking about adaptations. We're going to talk about good ones, we're going to talk about bad ones, we're going to talk about from books, we're going to be talking about from video games, and that's where this one comes from. We are going to be talking about Borderlands, coming out in August 9th of 2024, with starring Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Bobby Lee. So this one could be one of the steals of the summer. Like that, closing out that summer movie blockbuster as a good comedy that could just close things out.
That's I remember hearing this was coming out, but I didn't think it was this close to being done. This is one we'll have to put on our watch list for sure. I've played a few of these games and generally had fun with them. The game's story is kind of thin in part one, and I'm not like, and maybe this is completely original, maybe it draws from all 3 games and their spin-off Tiny Tina's Wonderland, I don't know. But it's basically a treasure hunting group that's trying to find like a legendary vault, but they don't know what's in it. It's kind of like a Holy Grail situation, maybe not a Holy Grail, like a Fountain of Youth situation, where at the prize is what the prize is to you. It could have money, it could have like a cure for something. People just aren't sure what's in it. But there's some wild interpretations there. We need to check out the budget for this movie, because like we were just saying about the War from the Rohirrim thing, if this movie is made on like a respectable budget, 100 mil, 150 mil, I don't see why it couldn't be a fun summer romp. It's got Kevin Hart. It's gonna be funny. It's got Cate Blanchett. Who doesn't love the real Galadriel? I said it. She's the real Galadriel. It ain't the chick on Rings of Power. Sorry, she's just not. And so there's enough there that right off the rip, I'm like, is this gonna be like older people Jumanji? Because this is kind of what it could be like. That's what the games are like. They're wild. There should be lots of action, lots of crazy shit going down. Lots of slapstick comedy could work. I'm hyped for that. That could work.
Could definitely work.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Good to see what characters they pull from, though. Or if, like I said, if they're just running on the Borderland idea and just having 4 people that are in a party that are doing the adventuring, cool. It could be Dungeons and Dragons with guns. Okay, sign me up.
Yeah, pretty much. Honor amongst
that's what I meant, dude. Like,
in the desert.
Sign me up. That could absolutely work. Because Kevin Hart can get some giant gun, shoot it, knock his ass over and shit. Because he's 5'3". Dude, there's no way it's not funny at the very least. Might be a garbage action movie, but it's gonna be funny. I almost guarantee that.
Yeah. And I mean, when doesn't Jack Black come in and just steal the show?
Dude.
Jumanji. Jumanji.
Well, the one time he didn't steal the show was that really bad episode of Mando season 3 that I'm never gonna let anybody forget how awful.
Yeah, that wasn't his fault. He was the shining star in that. Yeah, it was not his fault.
The shining star in that was Christopher Lloyd being the evil dickhead, head of planetary trash pickup robots or whatever, just because I like Dr. Emmett Brown. Whatever, biases aside. Give me one more from your list. I like you've had much better picks than I do so far.
All right, so actually I'm gonna do 3 triple fire because we're getting into sequel time. And now here's some quick sequels that are coming out this year.
You want me to wait, or you want me to fire them one at a time as you go, like response? What do you want?
I'll go one. You give a quick response. I'll go another quick response. Another. We're gonna start with Alien Romulus, August 16th.
I'm interested in seeing that because I do like the franchise. I don't like where it's gone the last few entries with Prometheus and Covenant. I thought Prometheus was pretentious as all hell, and Covenant was just bad, outright bad. If this is a reboot of things and to kind of just start a new story going, and it's not recasting Ripley as somebody else newer and younger, good, they can tell their own story. The 2 problems I had watching the trailer: the cast doesn't look like space truckers to me. They're too young, they're too pretty, they're too shiny, nobody has any facial hair or anything like that. I don't believe that these would be the kind of people doing blue collar labor, getting their hands dirty, scuffing knuckles and shit, fixing engines. That could be a bias on my part. I'm willing to admit that. I'm at least intrigued by more Alien because I do like it. My other problem with Romulus is, where does this take place on the timeline in movie universe?
Yeah, and that was one thing we'd have to research. I was thinking that it was going to happen between Covenant and Alien. Okay. But I might be wrong. It might be just a completely different story in the timeline.
Okay. See, that's a big deal.
It didn't just happen in Alien.
Yeah, that's a big deal to me because like I said this about, like you were saying about, we were talking about this earlier and you mentioned Rogue One. We knew how that ended, but nobody cared because it was still a good story. We all love Jyn Erso, and I'd like to point out, of course, that's a badass female character that nobody complained about because, of course, we like badass female characters, but she was never a Mary Sue in the movie, so you guys can just piss off with all that. Everybody loved her, and everybody loves the senator from Andor, and Padme and Leia and Mara Jade and the other 500 characters, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan. Everybody loves these characters in Star Wars, so stop it. Stop all that nonsense. But timeline-wise, if this is a movie about their humanity's first encounter with Xenos, how do they not know about them in Alien proper? So hopefully this is a side universe altogether. Otherwise, it means everybody in Romulus dies. Like no survivor, no final recording before hypersleep. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want a self-contained thing where the bad guys win. Maybe that's good.
Well, everyone knew the boat was going to sink in Titanic and still told the story.
That's history, though. I mean, you were there for the ride. I mean, I guess that's the same. I'm there for the ride for Romulus. You might have a point. Okay. All right, next thing. I went too long on that. I apologize. Give me the next one.
Next one. A sequel, a long-awaited sequel, Beetlejuice 2.
Okay. Yeah, never saw Beetlejuice, dude. The sub count's dropping.
Yep, we're losing credibility here. Losing credibility here.
I know it's a Keaton gem. I know it probably launched his movie career and all that good stuff. I know Winona Ryder's coming back. I know Keaton's coming back. This movie's probably gonna make bank. Yep. I think people are gonna dig it. It's weird. It's out there. It's bizarre. People love that kind of shit. I could be convinced to see it on the weight of my like of Jenna Ortega. I do enjoy her work, and she's pretty.
Yep.
I like
Jenna Ortega's coming in.
I
wonder if she's going to be playing Winona Ryder's daughter.
I think that's the angle. I think I saw that in a synopsis somewhere. So it could be interesting. I don't know. This might be a King Z review from the road, and then I get to go see it a week later. That might be how that pans out. I'm not sure. What's the third one?
And then the third one might be the sequel no one asked for.
That can only mean one.
Twisters.
Oh, God, dude. I might or might...
Revenge of the Tornado.
Did they bring back the son of the cow that's spinning in the trailer that everybody knows? I don't know. Dude, I might have...
Hopefully it's still just one cow.
I might have seen the original. I might not have. I honestly don't remember. I know the cow thing. I know Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton are in it. Dude, I don't...
It's a good movie. I like the original movie. I really did.
I think...
I enjoyed the first
It's probably not hyperbole that you're talking about. This is a sequel nobody asked. Like, could you imagine, right? You're either the studio or you're some intrepid young writer out there, and you hunt down the rights to this because, like, this is your play. Like, dude, we can get the rights to Twister for $10,000. We could probably just make a sequel on that, right? We could do that. Yeah, let's do that. What? Twister? Dude, a sequel about the board game Twister is more compelling to me now that I think of it. I'd rather watch a Twister tournament, like just people playing the game, like Red Hand Yellow. I'd rather watch that, I think, than a sequel about this, because there's no sharks in them Twisters. The NATO got that, right? Like, this isn't Shark Twister.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's Dragon Twister.
Well, I mean, the original Twister had one of the best meta moments ever. So you're at a drive-thru watching, I believe it was Wizard of Oz.
I actually remember that.
And when the tornado's coming in, and then the tornado comes
in. I
in.
I remember that. Maybe I did see that after all, but dude, I can't think of something I care less about to go see this year, honestly. Like, I just can't.
I can think of a few.
Dude, okay, I can't think of.
There's a couple of these new reboots coming out that I'm like, no, not even going to waste my time with it.
I'll handle that. You do Twisters. I'll watch whatever reboot you want me to watch. All right, let me give you one. Let me throw out a couple of number 4s. I'm pretty sure we know Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley, Part 4. That's coming out soon because we're seeing trailers for that. So I think that's early summer.
Yeah. And it's a Netflix release.
And then I think Bad Boys 4 is also out later in the year. That might have been, maybe they might have stamped that for end of year, and it's not conclusive. These lists were a little wonky when I was looking around Google and Bing and everything, so maybe that's not out this year. But in general, I'm down for each of these. I enjoyed all 3 Bad Boys movies that have come out. I'm down for more Martin Lawrence and Will Smith together. I like their chemistry. I think they're approaching Lethal Weapon 4 area now, where they got to do the whole "we're too old for this shit, gonna retire" thing. That could be funny. But the bigger one is Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
The world needs Axel Foley bad, and it needs Axel Foley as Eddie Murphy, circa Raw, circa Delirious, like Unchained, no filter, bashing everything, sarcasm, crude humor. We need more of that, because like you were mentioning earlier, like something has to supplant superhero movies. What did you mean by that when you were talking about that? Like, if superhero movies are on the way out, like what's gonna fill in for them, I think was the point you were making.
Yeah, what's gonna fill in, because I mean, we're gonna see Marvel's gonna be a while before they get going again. Just because of the writer's strike, and of course Kevin Fogarty's new focus on quality over quantity, because of how bad Phase 4 and Phase 5 played out. He's not happy with the returns, and he's not happy with the quality. I mean, look at one of the series that's supposed to come out this year that probably might be bumped to all the way next year because they're like, during the writer's strike, watching the footage, and they're like,
oh, yeah.
No.
Yep. No, we talked about Daredevil when we were talking about that. Yep, that's right.
But you need something to fill the void, and you need more like realistic type movies. So, I mean, superheroes are great. Superheroes aren't real. You know what are real? Cops. And you know what sells? Cop movies. And Beverly Hills Cop was one of the great comedies of the 80s and late 90s. Where there's 3 of them that they came out.
80s to early 90s, yep.
And like, and you started with the trailer, and I'm like, okay, I'm watching, and then all of a sudden you see that jacket, and as soon as you see the jacket, you know what's going to happen. Is the Detroit Lions jacket?
Don't strike us! Don't strike us! Exactly. And then they cue the Peter Griffin joke because I love that when he's dancing in that song at the club like 4 times in the episode. And he's gonna get dragged out by Brian. That's always fun. But yeah, I need this more for the comedy than the action. The action's going to make the business because, like you said, they can make a cop movie on $100 million without Eddie Murphy. He's gonna pull $25 million to make this movie. So whatever his salary is, it's going to be a chunk of the overall budget. He's Eddie Murphy, you know what I mean? But they could make generic but good action cop movies, action war movies. Like things like, what's the thing that Chris Hemsworth has been in? Extraction.
Extraction. A simple, just gun-toting movie, no real story except whatever the objective is, and then go. There's no deeper meaning to it. It's just a good action movie. Something we've lost the skills to do because now everything has to have another meaning.
No. More Axel Foley, please. What's next on your list, dude?
Next on my list, I was moving into series that I was looking forward to. So I'm just going to go these quick and on the point. First one is Masters of Air, coming out on Apple TV. It's supposed to be like a sequel to Band of Brothers, so it's like the daylight bombings and stuff like that. Then we have a Fallout series, another video game adaptation, coming out on Prime. And then we also have Gods of War coming out on Prime, another video game adaptation. We got, I know one you're really excited for, and that's House of Dragon Season 2 coming out on Max.
In fact, you need to watch Season 1, dude. We should do a House of the Dragon. I'll do a rewatch. You can do a first watch, and we just run through that. Because if we need something to cover, because Marvel's letting us down, Disney's letting us down, for just series-wise, I'd be in for House of the Dragon. I'm curious about God of War because I haven't heard too much about it yet, other than I know it was optioned. That you should say that was on Amazon as well?
Yeah, that's a Prime release as well.
This could go either way, depending on who's running it and writing it. Like if it's a Cavill situation for Warhammer 40K. I think you'd be all right. If it's in the more of the camp of like Rings of Power and Fallout, I think there's a good possibility it's going to get stuffed full of agenda bullshit. They're going to go off script from the show. Kratos is going to have a better female version of himself that teaches him how to be a better God of War. All the tropey shit that every time we say some stuff is going to be like that, it's because, you know, we're misogynists or whatever our problem is. And then we're right because it happens and the show sucks. I hope it doesn't go that way. I hope God of War leans more like Warhammer. They should both be brutal, violent, unrelenting, unforgiving. That's what those things are. You know what I mean? Fallout should fall closer to that while maintaining some satire. But I've already seen some early comments made about that show, and I'm not as high on that as I was when it was announced. I'm slightly a little bummed by that. But I mean, there's series to watch. Amazon has some good stuff, like we were saying. They got Reacher, they got Jack Ryan. Not everything over there has to suck. It's a choice they make creatively, whether or not it's any good. So I can see that.
And the last one I have on my list is a Welcome to Dreary.
Now, that was the Stephen King thing, right? That sounds like Dreary, Maine.
Yeah, that's Stephen King. Yep, Dreary, Maine, and it's set in the time period that leads up to the events of It Part 1.
Now,
book.
Anthology, or that's his own book? That's a King book.
It's not a King book. It's just built in that, kind of like that other one they released earlier. That was on Hulu.
Oh, was that Needful Things?
It wasn't Needful Things, but I think a Needful Things TV show came out earlier, like early 2000s.
Yeah, I remember because they actually shot some of that on Fort Devens.
Yeah, what was the one that they?
Are you thinking of the Kennedy thing?
Give me a second. No, that's 11/22/63.
What other King series did they just do that isn't Needful? The Dark Tower thing? That was just an adaptation of that one thing.
Castle Rock.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay.
I think it's going to be
that's
a
what they
series like
that's
Castle
what they
Rock.
shot on Devon's, I think, was Castle Rock. The newest thing of those two Needful things are Castle Rock. I think it was Castle Rock that they shot over there. True. Dude, that.
Oh my! I thought I recognized that.
Yeah,
lake.
there's Mirror.
That was Mirror
Yeah, dude,
Lake.
no doubt. Yeah, facts. I'm surprised we didn't talk about that when they made that. Yeah, dude, that could be interesting. I mean, depending on like what the story is. I mean, King stuff for me is hit or miss when it hits the screen. I think there's more bad than good, but the good stuff I like Pet Cemetery, are some of my favorites. You know what I mean? I mean there's a lot of good
the
stuff.
The first part of it was
yes,
amazing.
definitely. I mean, we could talk about chapter 2 another time, but I think that what was missing in chapter 2 was the whole connection of the adult characters that you had to the teens. I mean, like they were more compelling, they were more likable, they felt more vulnerable because they were kids.
They had more charisma.
Obviously, that. If they were more vulnerable dealing with that kind of threat as kids and knowing grown-ups wouldn't believe them, and they really only had each other kind of thing. That all made better sense. Yeah, dude, those are great picks. Yeah. I'm looking forward to a bunch of those. Let me hit you with a few rapid fires to wrap this out. I have another Godzilla thing. I think it's on the American side of stuff. It's not related to the thing you just saw. This is Godzilla X Kong. I think it's in the Monarch setup of things.
Yep, it's in the Monarch series, which concludes Godzilla, Godzilla King of Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, Skull Island, and now this one, and the Monarch series that is on Apple TV. These are all tied together by the Monarch logo.
And you said Monarch, the show, has actually been pretty decent. It started, you said it was a little weak up front, but it got progressively better and then stayed pretty good.
Yeah, and I still have to finish it. I'm a couple episodes out of date right now, just because of going home on vacation, stuff like that. I haven't been really watching a lot of TV, so.
But through 8 episodes, whatever you've watched, I mean, you're not out on it, like you said. You just didn't have time, so you're interested in finishing.
No, it was pretty good. I was liking it. Yeah.
All right.
Like I like the Godzilla series and the story of all the different Titans and stuff like that. So.
I'm kind of lukewarm on the movies they've had out recently. I'm bummed that I didn't get to see -1. Out here, it never played anywhere that I could get to. I'll catch that when it goes to streaming. I don't know, they're hit or miss. I mean, I did like whatever the most recent one was, where Godzilla finally powered up to absolute nuclear level and melted Boston, which was kind of funny because I'm a Boston guy. I thought it was kind of badass just seeing him Omega fucking level powered up at the end of that. It was kind of cool. I like that kind of stuff. I also have here, this is another one I think is more in King Z territory here. It's I think it's part 4 of the new series of Planet of the Apes. I think this one's called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have no attachment to these at all. So I was hoping you could shine some light on it. What your expectations are.
I think this one probably could be one of the better ones in the newer Planet of the Apes series. Because I mean, remember there were old ones back in the Dustin Hoffman days where you had Planet of the Apes and Return of the Planet of the Apes and Escape from the Planet of the Apes and
the 70s,
Planet of the Apes of the Planet of the Apes. Then you had the new ones where you had James Franco, and it's pretty much what started the Planet of the Apes. Then you had was it Rise of the Planet
Rise was
of
in
the
there
Apes,
somewhere.
And then, War.
Yeah, it was Rise, War, and this one's Kingdom, and I don't know which one was 2, 3, and 4. I don't know. But they usually do commercially pretty well, right? None of them have bombed or anything like that. None of them have been notoriously
they're all pretty good stories and stuff like that. The CGI on this one looks outstanding.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Before, you could tell a little bit of the mouth movement was a little bit off with the words. This one you don't see that, and plus the world looks lived in. This is really the world of the Planet of the Apes shooting this. I think they kind of did what they did when they shot that really bad CGI version of Lion King, live action Lion King, where it was CGI lions and stuff like that. But they actually went out into the woods and shot the woods and the stuff like that. And then they put everything in. I think they did a lot of that when they built these sets and stuff. Okay. So it could definitely be a movie worth watching.
Dude, does this franchise still have your boy in it? What's his name? With the green screen. He's in Andor. He's one of the best parts of Andor. Andy Serkis.
Sarsgaard?
No, Andy Serkis.
Oh, Andy Serkis.
Is he still Caesar or one of the characters in the mocap bodysuit?
I haven't looked.
I hope so. I hope so. That dude owns any kind of physical acting like that in those suits. Boom. Dude,
oh yes, definitely.
All right, so that's King of the Apes. I got a couple more. A couple of badass female characters apparently. Red Sonja is due out this year. You remember Red Sonja from the 80s?
Yeah, I remember Red Sonja. Not a big fan. I was never really a big fan of Conan either.
You did veto my pick for Conan during Fantasy. Oh, that's right, you dick. Yeah, that's right. It was you that did it. All right.
That was me. Yeah. Not a fan of those series. I don't know. Just something about them.
It's Sword and Sandals. It's quintessentially crap you like. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. It does not play well with me.
So
it's just like, okay, whatever, dude. I like Conan the Librarian more than I like Conan the Barbarian.
You're missing out. Red Sonja is a classic. Like I don't know if you know the story behind the OG is that it was supposed to be a third Conan movie, but there was an interruption of rights or something, so they had to rewrite the Conan character as Calidor inside a movie, and then made it Red Sonja and bump Bridget Nielsen in as like the main character, even though Arnold still shows up and does all kinds of gangster Conan shit in it. This, I guess, is based on a current comic book run that I guess has decent accolades behind it. People seem to be kind of into it. It's not a remake of the OG 80s flick that had the story about Red Sonja avenging her sister's death and stopping an evil queen from getting a talisman. This seems to be more like a overthrow the evil general that stole her parents' throne kind of thing. I don't know, it could be interesting. But then the other one I know you'll have an opinion on because this is more mainstream. Furiosa comes out this year too, like the next and the newest of Mad Max movies, but Mad Max isn't in it as much and he's just watching the crap happen. It doesn't have Charlize Theron, it has Anna Taylor-Joy. I don't know if that sways your opinion. What did you think of Fury Road, and are you down for Furiosa?
So I think Fury Road was very visually stunning, but I did not really like it. Like, I thought the original trilogy of Mad Max, which is Mad Max Road Warrior, and Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, was so much better. It was more compelling stories. The Mad Max Fury Road was like, okay, we're going to set this in a post-apocalyptic world where everyone drinks breast milk and they starve them of water, which they would die.
Shit on their faces for some reason.
Yeah, chrome on their face. And
pull them dehydrated.
Yeah.
My mouth. Dude, I don't get it, dude. I thought Fury Road, like visually stunning, I think is like, it's the cliche thing everybody says because you want to say something nice about it, but it's really all you got. Because it's like a 2-hour-long comic book panel with like wild, bright colors in places with like the orange deserts, the guitar play with like the flames coming out of it. There's a lot of reds. The sandstorm effect that everybody talks about was like a massive achievement effects-wise at the time that I think they did that scene in like one take or something. Like there was something wild to it, I remember. But like, what was the story about again? There was like Mad Max had to get like to the Crones or something where like Charlize Theron's character was because they needed to kill the old smoking guy for water or something. I don't know.
Oil. They were going for oil because everything was vehicle driven, so they had to get oil.
That was.
And like she ran off with like 2 of his like concubines because she was one, but she lost her favorite. She lost her leg.
Dude,
and,
you could tell me this was a movie about them making a cheese omelet, and I'd be like, okay. I mean, that might have happened. I saw it twice, and I remember the sandstorm and flamethrowing guitar guy, and Mad Max being tied up on the spike on the front of the truck. That's it. That's all I remember.
The intro to Mad Max I thought was pretty cool, where he grabs a lizard, bites its head off, and like eats it raw.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, because you're thinking, oh shit, it's Mad Max. Like this shit's gotta happen. People are boned. They're hungry. Yeah, dude, I'm with that. I gotta do this to you because I always do this whenever I say we're at the end of the list. I got 2 bonus ones. These I'm pretty sure these are both coming out. You gotta check these out. Mortal Kombat 2 is due out this year, allegedly. I believe. That's why I did make the proper list.
I have not seen anything. I didn't mind the last Mortal Kombat movie. I thought the effects were great, except for the character who's not in the video game. Yeah, who has like no purpose and always gets beat up.
Except when he beats Goro, because his literal Mortal Kombat ability is literal plot armor, where like his skin becomes steel or whatever bullshit like Colossus, and he can take no damage. Dude,
I think Jax's robot arms are better than
Yeah,
that.
dude, they were definitely better than that. I also like how Jax lost him, the Sub-Zero freeze, and then the shatter thing was pretty dope. I like that. I like Sub-Zero as a bad guy, because it's like Sub-Zero 1, the one that becomes Noob Saibot, which was kind of badass. Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm with a lot of the other people that enjoyed the movie. The Cole thing was stupid, don't get me wrong. I didn't need any of that. We could have cut him right out of that movie, and everything about getting the...
Liu Kang was pretty awesome.
Dude, he could have been the lead character just like the OG movie, which wasn't any good, don't get me wrong. We can run that theme music, but just Mortal Kombat.
Or is it Liu Kang? The one with the hat.
Kung Lao. Kung Lao is the one with the hat.
Kung Lao.
You could have picked either of them to be the mortal that must get the group together to do the tournament, oppose Shang Tsung, blah, blah, blah. It didn't need Cole. It didn't need the everyman character. The better movie that I was going to say they should have made Feudal Japan Scorpion before he was Scorpion thing from the beginning, like the first 15 minutes. Look, you remember that game on PlayStation? I don't know if you got, because you don't do Sony stuff. Dude, Ghost of Tsushima. It was that part of the movie was that game. It was and everybody loved that game. Okay. It was a banger of a game. The look, like the rose petals on the apple blossom trees. You get the flute music. You get the sunset. That game was amazing. All of that was the beginning of Mortal Kombat with all Mortal Kombat stuff. And then they're like, here's Cole at the MMA gym. His daughter's cheering him on, coaching him because she's 12 and knows when it's time to apply a leg sweep and a rear naked. Stop. Kano I thought was pretty good. His back and forth with Cabal in that movie were pretty funny. There was some good shit there.
I think that Kano was better than the Kano in the original movie. 1,000 times over.
All right, doing that other pick that I had here, and again, this is on that up in the air part of the list. Dude, National Treasure 3 is apparently a thing, and not related to that garbage series on Disney Plus. There was also memory hold like Willow, because it was that bad. I'm sure you're a Nicolas Cage guy, because you should be. National Treasure 3, how many times? Yeah, no, right? Right? That's the best part of Face Off. National Treasure 3, dude. Are you down for more of that?
Yes. Now, I was an initial hater of National Treasure when I saw the trailer, heard the premise. I'm like, come on. Do you guys have no better ideas in Hollywood than there's a treasure map on the back of the Declaration of Independence?
Now we have no subs. Thank you very much. You did.
But there is a but. But once I watched it, I was like, this is a banger of a movie. I enjoyed it from start to finish. Sean Bean didn't die.
Went to jail, though.
But he was a really good bad guy.
Yep, true.
He did go to jail.
Yep.
And
Someone's got to go to jail.
I really enjoyed the movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude.
I really, really enjoyed that movie. And then when the second one rolled around, I thought the second one was a little forced, where they try to rebuild the chemistry between Nicolas Cage's character and the female lead
Abby.
in it. I thought that was a little... Yeah, Abby. I thought that was really forced. And I thought the movie was like, Give it another watch, and a couple other watches after that, I started dating the movie a little bit more and got into it. And I definitely love the... they set up this movie back in part 2 when he gets the Book of Secrets, and the president literally asked him, look into page 23.
I think
that was the original title of this movie when they talked about it, was page 23. Because page 23 has some type of conspiracy on it, because that was the Book of Secrets. It's all the conspiracies that everyone thinks about is in this book that's handed down from president to president to president.
His eyes only.
They know.
Right.
Yep. And it's hidden in the Library of Congress, which I thought was brilliant.
Yep.
Which has a copy of every book ever made in the history of ever. And it's hidden in there in a secret bookcase. It's just great. And then, at the end, he's like, and have you looked in that thing I asked you about? He's like, let me tell you about page 23. And they start walking off, and that's all you hear.
You're talking about Nicolas
you don't
Cage's
hear
character,
anything else
Harvey
about it.
Keitel, right?
Yeah.
Is that how that movie was? That was the ending, right? Yeah, because he wanted to look at, and they never tell you what page 23 is. It could be UFOs. It could be we still have dinosaurs. It could be everybody's a clone. Who knows? It could be time travel. Nobody knows. They very wisely, just like they did the mystery cliffhanger.
Hollow Earth, Flat Earth,
third energy or whatever it's called. Yeah, 0 point energy, all that good stuff. Yeah, I'm
cold fusion,
whatever. You know, it could have been anything. I'd be down for more of this, especially after the series, because I tried watching like a little bit of the first episode. It just wasn't National Treasure. I agree with you. I didn't like the forced breakup part, or we get to the couple we get to Nicolas Cage and Abby's couple, or Ben, whatever, he was Ben, right? Ben Gates, I think was his name.
Yeah, Ben Gates.
Ben and Abby, however far down the line from part one, they're split up, like they're divorced or they're separated or whatever. Now, you know, part of the reason I liked part one was kind of the same reason that I liked The Mummy so much, the first two of those movies, that Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz together had a lot of good chemistry. They played off each other. They started kind of standoffish, just like Nicolas Cage's character did with, I don't remember who played Abigail, but like it was similar. And I'm like, okay, this jives. I like that kind of stuff, because then they get together and they kind of pool talents. Then they do like the love angle thing, and that's all good. So yeah, catching up with them like 2 years later, because it was short term later, it wasn't even long. It was like 5 seconds later, we're separated, and I don't have the castle mansion thing at the end of part one. And you know, I'm like, no, this is a letdown. I don't need to see that shit. But I'd be down for more. But you know, one thing I always mix up with this movie is I always forget that the movie ends like you said, where he's walking away with Harvey Keitel about page 23. Because I always think it's the end of The Rock, where he's holding up the film negatives from like the roll of film he got from the church that Connery's character told him about. And it's like, oh shit, you're not gonna believe who killed Kennedy or whatever. I always think that's the end of National Treasure 2. And it wasn't until we had the chat later, like, no, dumbass, that's not the end of that movie. It's the end of The Rock. Yeah. I'm like, dude, it could have been the same thing.
Yeah, it's the end of The Rock.
It's Connery, Keitel, you know, Nicolas Cage, one thing or another. You know, but yeah, dude, I hope this movie comes through, and I hope like it just delivers on an easy promise of the premise. Give me an old mystery from American history. Jet set to some places, do some cool shit with some invention of Ben Franklin's. I don't know, like just do something. You know.
Yeah. So you want to break rules? Let me break a rule.
Here we go.
I talked earlier about the sequel that nobody wanted with Twisters.
Yep. Nobody.
It's plural.
Nobody.
So, I have one more. It's the reboot. I believe that is a disgrace. There is a movie coming out, and I believe it's a reboot. It's called Roadhouse.
Dude, I forgot all about that. It's got Jared Leto in it, right?
No, it's not Jared Leto. It was
Jared Leto, I think.
See real quick.
I bet you beer. He's Dalton.
Go to my...
I thought he'd be bigger. You youngins wouldn't get the reference. It's like, dude, we should review Roadhouse. Not even review, we should just talk about it. Just have a talk about Roadhouse for sure.
No, it is not Leto. It's Jake
Gyllenhaal. It's basically the same dude. Damn, I knew it was a J name. I knew that. All right, I'll be a beer. All right, yeah. Either which way, I don't care which one of the J names it is. Dude, reboot, it shouldn't happen. They made a sequel to this piece of shit already like 5 years ago. It was like Roadhouse Miami Beach or some bullshit. Like I remember this coming out. It's the son of Dalton because Dalton died. Like was killed in a bar fight. I'm like, no. That's not how that would happen. You got the 3-finger throat rip technique. He's not dying in a bar fight. He killed 2 dudes with guns with the 3-finger throat rip technique. How's he dying in a bar fight? Stupid. No, dude, no. No.
And the other one, it's a reboot of a TV series that had Lee Majors in it. The Fall Guy.
Okay. That might be okay. Equalizer. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
It depends on now.
I do like the Equalizer with Queen Latifah in it too. That is actually a pretty good
Really? I've heard that was trash. Really? Can she actually move like she's...
There was parts of it.
She's throwing kicks and shit? Because, I mean, she's about my build. I'm not throwing head kicks, you know what I mean?
It's more of figuring through a problem than physics.
All right, so it's more detective.
It's more like the original TV show.
All right. That's a wise decision, then. I'll give them credit for that, because I think Denzel handled the fisticuffs and the fucking firearms work.
Oh, yeah. You can't undo... And it's Denzel. Right. You can't undo that. It's Denzel.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that's probably a wise decision to play it that way. Dude, The Fall Guy, I didn't watch a whole lot of that as a kid. I'm sure I caught episodes of my grandma back in the day when she was doing, like, babysitting and stuff like that. But depending on... Do we know who they cast as the lead? Do you have that in front of you?
Ryan Gosling.
I'm in. Sold. Fine. Okay. Dude looks the part. He could throw down. There's no way he couldn't move in a fight. You know, when properly trained for like stage or screen or whatever.
Yeah. You do know the story of the Fall Guy, right?
Is he a CIA agent that's on the run? Or am I thinking of the 18?
No, he's a stuntman who helps solve crimes.
Oh, the fall guy, because that's like the slang term.
Yeah, he's the guy who takes the fall.
Well, fall guy also means the guy that the patsy. Like that's the other application of the name. Cool, I'd be with that. I mean, if it's a detective show and they get around to having him being shirtless and brawling and shooting shit, okay. I mean, like that's Ryan Gosling's thing, right? Isn't like that kind of his move? Being the good-looking dude that's gonna
that is kind of his thing.
I mean, there you go. Dude, you know what? I'm gonna break double rules because I got one more that you forgot to throw in that you told me you were gonna do. We gotta go books. You get your dude. Here's your 60 seconds.
I got my book.
Book in here, bro. Come on.
All right. So for the book that I'm looking forward to, we've done series, we've done movies. Now it's time to bring in the books, and there's one. Book 5 of the Stormlight Archives, Knights of Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, comes out in 2024. I believe it's a December release, so I have to wait 12 more months. But if you don't believe I will have an Audible credit saved up for that
right?
For December, you are sadly mistaken.
I know a lot of people
because
forward to that.
I've listened to the other 4, and I'm talking about I've committed time. Like the shortest book is 28 hours.
That's for you guys at home that don't do Audible books like King Z and I do. 28 hours would probably be the equivalent of about 1,200 pages of a regular paperback. Yeah. And that's times 4 books that he's done already, boys and girls. On top of the other 8.
The longest one is like 63 hours.
Yeah, dude, they're tomes. Tomes is the word we're gonna use. And that's on top of the other 900 books the guy wrote like that year that he did like the secret announcement and just kept pulling out the manuscripts. Sanderson bringing out just one, boom, it's just like phone book after phone book of new shit that he wrote during COVID. Like, all right, we made good use of his time.
So there was a panel of authors, and it had Sanderson, it had Rothfuss, it had who wrote the First Law?
Abercrombie.
Abercrombie.
Yep, Abercrombie. Love
Abercrombie.
Love that trilogy.
They were all, and I think Erickson was on the panel as well.
Yep.
And they're asking questions, and then Patrick Rothfuss says, like, I got one question for Brandon. And he turned and looked at him. He's like, can you please write slower?
Dude, he's not wrong, because productivity-wise, dude, this is remember the story? I remember I called you like 2 years ago during COVID, and I was like, dude, are you keeping up with this Sanderson story on Kickstarter? And you were like, nah, dude, what's going on? Like, dude, Sanderson put up one of his books on Kickstarter after like a surprise announcement to crowdfund like a leather-bound version of like whatever book. But one of the gifts for like getting in at whatever level was like an advanced copy of like whatever new thing he had coming. He made like $32 million on Kickstarter in 12 hours. Like, he broke Kickstarter.
So that was for his secret book projects that he wrote during COVID.
But he was giving away something that he had that was on the release schedule that people wanted. But people went nuts because the announcement video, he just kept piling it on. It was I've never seen anything like it.
He's like, and during this, I wrote a secret project. But I didn't just write a secret project. I wrote another secret project. And then I wrote another secret project.
Dude, he announced like 6. He literally dropped 6 I think it was 6. It was insane. It was nuts. No ghost, and these aren't farmed out like how what's his face that does that with all like the spy thriller books? Not Clancy, the other one. He's notorious.
Well, Clancy's technically a ghostwriter now, because Clancy's passed away.
Right. But there's another one that always does that. It's like such and such by someone, by the guy's name. I can't think of the series. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna Lee something. Lee Childs. No, it's not Lee Childs.
Lee Childs.
Maybe one.
That's Reacher.
No, it's not that. Then it's something else. Oh, Patterson. It's Patterson. It's Patterson. It's Patterson that does it. He's got like 70 series, but it's like he outsources the license of his name to like a writing team like us, where it'd be like we'd have our own thing, but we'd have paid $5 million to be like, Winterwolf and King Z write Maximum Damage by James, some whatever stupid collaboration how they do it. But when he does 80 books a year, that he's written not a word. Sanderson literally just hunting texts, 8 billion words a day, and wrote 8 books during the pandemic. God bless him. God bless him.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that book coming out. This one has been one of his longer in-between books because he's had so much and he's been building his company. He's actually brought in another writer to start writing in the Cosmere as well. Yep. So
yeah, dude, I think this is one of the series when you talk about it. I mean, I have it. I've had it for a couple of years now, just on my desk. but I had the Rothfuss set ahead of me. There's a couple of other Abercrombie books in his second trilogy. Like, I think the first one is Something Hatred, I think is the first book. I picked it up and started it like 70 times. That doesn't mean it's not good. I did that to the Dresden Files too. I picked up Stormfront like 70 times before I finally got through it, and now I love it. You know what I mean? So we've definitely good to have a couple books on that list for sure. Good to be hyped up about books.
Yeah, so I do believe with Rothfuss, that third book is the silence of the third part, is that book, because we're never going to see it.
Yeah. That's the only book you have a less chance of getting than the last two Game of Thrones books. That's a fact.
Yeah, it's been 13 years since his last book in this series. I mean, he's had 2 novellas come out, but I don't want that.
I want the real book.
I want a book.
All right, dude. I think that's our hype list for 2024, guys. King Z, get us out of here.
But one thing, there's one more thing I'm looking forward to. And that's you guys. That's you guys. I'm looking forward to you guys interacting with us on a weekly, bi-weekly, couple basis. Our last video got 12 comments. That was exciting because I love interacting with the people who watch our videos. So with that said, I want you to hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 200 subscribers because I want to interact with more of you. Hit that thumbs up button so it gets our stuff out to more people so I can interact with them too. Let's hit that notification bell so you never miss great content when we drop it. And once again, Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for joining us last year. If you want to go back and watch our old content, our catalog is there. Go ahead and see how we've grown as a channel, and we're going to keep growing as we keep going. So please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And once again, thank you for everything.
Happy New Year, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.